Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah here. We're holding a Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel, and Mirz Hashem today we will be completing Daf Daled Amud Beis, and we will cover as well some of the Mishnah Berurah on Hey Amud Aleph. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos, and we are in the midst of the very complex halachas of Amira La'akum. Our learning today should be a schus for Achenu Beis Yisrael, Hadasunu B'Atzar B'Ashivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayam U'Bein Bayabasha, Hamalkeim Yirachem Aleihem, V'Yitzim Yitzar L'Rvacha Me'afelu La'Oro Mishibah L'Geula, Hashta B'Galo V'Zman Kariv, V'Naimar Amen. So yesterday on Daf Daled Amud Aleph, we began Siman Reish Mem Daled, and in Siman Reish Mem Daled Sif Aleph, the Mechaber introduced to us the question of a Kavlan. What's a Kavlan? A Kavlan is a worker that's being hired to complete a job. You're paying him by the job. You're not paying him by the hour. You're not paying him per day. You're paying him for the job. You're paying him to complete a specific job. Now, the Mechaber told us here in Sif Aleph that a Yisrael he can hire a Kabbalan, and as long as the arrangement is a Kabbalan arrangement, where the Kabbalan is being paid for the job, and you set a price for the job, and you make an agreement whereby the Kabbalan could do the work at his own schedule, in that case, the Yisrael could hire the Eino Yehudi Kavlan, and he doesn't have to tell the Kavlan not to work on Shabbos. Even if the Kavlan does the work on Shabbos, it's okay. So what would be an example of this? An example would be, let's say Ruvain goes ahead. Ruvain's dining room table is broken. So Ruvain goes and he hires a carpenter. And the arrangement is, Tony, the carpenter, please take the dining room table, repair the dining room table, bring me back a repaired dining room table, and I'll pay you $250. So Tony is not being paid per hour. He's not being paid per day. He's being paid $250 to take the table, repair the table, and return a repaired table. Is there a deadline? Well, Ruvain tells Tony, take it. I'm not in a rush. Go ahead, do the job at your schedule. Bring it back when it's finished. Okay. The Mechaber says, in such a case, it's mutter. He could give the table to Tony, and Tony could even do the work on Shabbos. There's no Amira La'akum over here. Now, why is there no Amira La'akum over here? So we discussed this at length yesterday, but let's just remind ourselves. There's primarily two reasons why there's no Amira La'akum. Reason number one is, under this situation, Tony can do the work at his own schedule. The Yid did not tell Tony to work on Shabbos. He's not makbid that he should work on Shabbos. He's allowing Tony to do the work whenever he does the work. If Tony decides to do the work on Shabbos, why is he deciding to do the work on Shabbos? He's deciding to do the work on Shabbos because he wants to knock out the job. He's getting paid a fixed rate for this job. To do this job, he's making $250. There's nothing in it for him to stretch the job out. Adarabah, it benefits him to knock out the job and complete it as soon as possible. So if Tony decides to work on Shabbos, is he working on Shabbos for Ruvain? No, he's working on Shabbos for himself. That's why he's working on Shabbos. That's reason number one. Reason number two is that in halacha, when we look at the arrangement of a kabbalan, we do not see the kabbalan as doing the malacha of the Yisrael. Let me explain to you what I mean. Let's take two different cases. Case number one would be, Ruvain has a field, and he wants to hire somebody to do his harvest. He doesn't want to do it himself. So he goes and he hires a sachir. He hires an employee. And he hires Tony, and he says, I'm going to pay you $500 for the day. Go do the harvest. In that case, the way halacha looks at it is, the sachir, Tony, is doing Ruvain's malacha. Ruvain has malacha that needs to be done. He needs a field that needs to be cut. He doesn't want to cut it himself. He has no time to cut it for himself. He has too much work that he has to get done. So what does he do? He hires an employee. He brings in an employee to go do malacha that he needs done. Comes along Tony. Tony does Reuven's malacha. He goes ahead and he cuts the wheat. He harvests the wheat. In that case, Tony is a shliach of Reuven's. Reuven is bringing him in and having him do his malacha. Also, if he hires him as a schir yom, and he hires him to do work on Shabbos, so that's Mamash Abir Laka 101. You're paying somebody to go work on Shabbos. That's an employee. But now let's look at a Kablan. A Kablan is different. A Kablan is, I have a broken dining room table. I don't know how to fix a dining room table. I don't have the tools to fix a dining room table. I don't have a workshop to fix a dining room table. I'm not in the furniture repair business. I have no interest in being in the furniture repair business. So what do? I outsource the job. I don't bring in somebody to do my malacha. I'm not going to hire somebody to go screw the table, glue the table, sand the table, stain the table. I'm not bringing in somebody to do my malacha. I am outsourcing the repair of the table to a kablan who is now going to take the table and he's going to do his work of repairing the table, and he is going to be paid for completing that job. So he's not a shliach of the Yisrael to do the malacha. It's his malacha. He's doing his malacha, and he's going to get paid for the job. So again, the Mechaber told us, and we saw this yesterday already, that you could hire the kablan, and the kablan, if he wants to work on Shabbos, he could work on Shabbos. You didn't tell him to work on Shabbos, so there's no problem over there. You're not makbid that he should work on Shabbos. Nachri adaita denafshei ka'avid. He's deciding for his own benefit to do the work on Shabbos because it benefits him. He knocks out the job. And the very malacha that he's doing on Shabbos, we don't see it as being the malacha of the one who hired him. We see it as being his own malacha. He was outsourced to do that malacha, and he's going to get paid for it. So we see it as being his malacha. So the kablan is mutter. That's what the Mechaber told us. Now, the Mechaber threw in a very important caveat that we saw yesterday. That is, the Mechaber said, when is this mutter? This is mutter if the fact that the malacha is being done on behalf of Yisrael is bitzina. If we're talking about the repair of a dining room table is a davar shebetolush. It's not something that's attached to the ground. It's not real estate. It's not a house that's mechubar lekarka. It's tolush. It's a piece of furniture. If we're dealing with a piece of furniture, so let's say Tony does his carpentry in his yard. He has a shop. His shop is in Rishus Harabim, and in front of the shop he has a yard, and when he has to do something like staining that makes fumes, he does it outside in the front. Now, he's doing that work by Rishus Harabim. But the fact that the dining room table belongs to a Yid, the fact that he's working right now on something that belongs to a Yid, and he was contracted by a Yid, that's a davar shebetzina. People walking by when they come home from shul, and they walk by Tony's yard, and they see Tony working on a dining room table, they don't know if the dining room table is Reuven's dining room table, or it's Vito's dining room table. They don't know whose dining room table it is. So therefore, the fact that Tony is doing work for a Yisrael is a davar shebetzina. That's discreet. That's not being announced to the whole world. In that case, the Mechaber says, the kablan could do work for Yisrael even if he's doing the work on Shabbos, because it's bitzina. But if it's miforsemes, said the Mechaber yesterday, im hoisa yedua u'miforsemes, if it's public knowledge that the work that's being done is being done on the behalf of a Yisrael, then this is usher. Then the Yisrael has to prevent the kablan from doing work on Shabbos. Why? Because now there's a maris ayin problem. What's the maris ayin problem? So, first of all, what is the case of something that is considered yedua u'miforsemes? So Mechaber told us, you know what's yedua u'miforsemes? Something that's mechubar lekarka. So if you have a property, and you have a house, a building on a property, and you want to hire a kablan to come do work on the house, You're building an extension on a house, even if it's not your house, even if it's a rental property that you own 6 blocks away. It is your house, but not the one you live in. You own a rental property 6 blocks away. You want to hire Tony the Kablan to build an extension onto the house. That's Yedua Umuforsemis. Why? Because when people are coming home from shul and they walk by the rental property, the assumption is that everybody knows who owns something that's mechubal karka. Real estate, people know who owns it. A house, they know who owns it. A building, they know who owns it. A chutzner, they know who owns it. So this is not like the dining room table. Over here, when people are coming home from shul, they're going to see Tony the Kablan building an extension on Ruvain's rental property. Now, so what? Kablan arrangement, we said, is mutter. No, but they don't realize that it's a Kablan arrangement. They don't see your contracts. They're not privy to the deal that you struck with Tony. So they're going to look and they're going to think that Reuven went ahead and hired a sakir. He went ahead and he hired an employee, a schir yoim, and he's paying him to go do his malacha on Shabbos. And that would be also because of Amir La'akum. So here we have the halacha. The halacha that the Mechaber told us yesterday is that a Kablan arrangement, it's generally mutter for the Yisrael to allow the Eino Yehudi Kablan to do work on Shabbos because it doesn't entail Amir La'akum. Now be careful what I said. He could allow him to do work on it. He cannot instruct him to. He can't suggest that he should do work on Shabbos. He can't create the deal in such a way so that he must do work on Shabbos. But he could just leave it alone. He could leave it to Tony's schedule. If Tony wants to do the work on Shabbos, he could do the work on Shabbos. He's not mechuyev to tell Tony no work on Shabbos. And even if he sees Tony doing work on Shabbos, he's not mechuyev to stop him. He could just leave Tony alone. Caveat, only if the fact that the work is being done for Yisrael is bitzina. If the fact that the work is being done for Yisrael is before semes, then there's a problem of marasai. So that's a recap of what we saw yesterday. Now we go to Dalet Amud Beis, and we pick up, in the words of the Mechaber, 2 lines from the bottom in middle of the line. Says the Mechaber, let's say we're talking, Taka, about work that's mechubal karka. Okay? So we are talking about a Eino Yehudi Kablan building a wall, building an extension on a house, doing avodas hakarka, working on land. So that's where the Mechaber said there could be a Marasayan problem. But the Mechaber also told us another thing yesterday. He said the Marasayan issue is only an issue if it's within a Yiddish neighborhood, or at least within the tchum of a Yiddish neighborhood. That's when you have a Marasayan problem. If it's out in the boondocks where there are no Yisraelim around, then there's no Marasayan. So now, says the Mechaber, V'em hoisa malacha chutz l'tchum, if this malacha that the Eino Yehudi Kablan is doing b'mechubal karka is taking place out of the tchum of any Yiddish city, and it has to be any Yiddish city, v'gam ein ir acheres b'soich tchumai shamakam she'osim b'y malacha, where the malacha is being done by the Eino Yehudi Kablan, there is no Yiddish city within the tchum of where the malacha is being done. So Tony is mamish doing this construction project out in the boondocks. He's doing this out in North Dakota, and there's no Yiddish sviva anywhere near it. Not within the tchum, not anything. So then, says the Mechaber, mutter. Why? Because inherently the Kablan arrangement is mutter. The only problem would be Marasayan, and over here, there is no Marasayan. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Eis Kat Yud Beis, V'gam ein ir acheres. There isn't another city within the tchum of where the Kablan is doing the malacha. V'hu adin, the same halacha would apply, Kishedarsham eze Yehudi b'soich hatchum shel malacha, gam kein aser. When the Mechaber said that it is a problem of Marasayan if there's a Yiddish city within the tchum of where the malacha is being done. That's a problem. Why is it a problem? Because the Yidden could come from that city and they could take a spatzir, they could walk out of the city, and within the Tchum Shabbos they'll encounter this Eino Yehudi Kablan doing the malacha on behalf of Yisrael, and that will be a Marasayan problem. Says the Mishnah Berurah, it's not only if there's a Yiddish city within the tchum of where the malacha is being done. It's as long as there are Yidden that live within the tchum of where the malacha is being done. It doesn't have to be a Yiddish city. It could be a Goyish city. It could be a Goyish city that doesn't have a Yiddish neighborhood. But maybe there's 2-3 families that live within the tchum of where the malacha is being done. That's also a problem. And in that case, says the Mishnah Berurah, "V'yitzave Yehudi kaidem Shabbos." In such a situation, the Yisrael would have to instruct the Eino Yehudi Kablan before Shabbos, shelo yaseh b'Shabbos, that he's not allowed to do malacha for him on Shabbos. Ois cotton Yud Gimel, mutter. If it's out in the boondocks, away from all Yidden, so there's no Marasayin problem, then it's mutter. Says the Mishnah Berurah, to Suleka B'Shem Marasayin. Because if there's no Yidden around, there's no Marasayin, and inherently it's mutter, because the Eino Yehudi is a Kablan. Now, very important phrase over here, which speaks to a lot of what I said in the Hakdama. That Hakdama was very well researched. Says the Mishnah Berurah, why is the Kablan inherently mutter? Ve'eino Yehudi ki katarach b'didei katarach. The Eino Yehudi over here is a Kablan. And the Kablan Eino Yehudi, when he is katarach, when he is busy doing the malacha, b'didei katarach, he's doing his own work. Now, what's very important about this phrase in the Mishnah Berurah is this is a different phrase than what we've seen before. We have seen before the phrase Nachri adaita denafshei ka'ovid. The Nachri is working on Shabbos adaita denafshei for his own purposes. Over here, the lashon is a little bit different, and I think that's very instructive. Eino Yehudi ki katarach b'didei katarach. Those words mean when the Eino Yehudi Kablan is doing melacha, he's doing his own melacha. And that speaks to what I told you at the beginning of the shir. One of the great differences, and we can see this in the Igros Moshe, one of the great differences between the Kablan and the Sachir, between the Kablan and the regular employee, the Schir Yoim, is who does the work belong to? When malacha is being done on Shabbos, who are we miyaches that malacha to? Who is it connected to? By an employee, we're miyaches the work to the balabayas. We're miyaches the work to the Yisrael who hired the employee. And we look at it and we say the employee is doing the Yid's work. So then he's his shliach, and then it's Amir Lakum. By a Kablan, we're miyaches the work that the Kablan does to the Kablan. Mashal lamad davar. Now, I'm not saying this halacha lemaisa because auto mechanics, it's very funny the way different auto mechanics work. Are they paid by the hour? Are they not? But let's say you take your car needs a starter, and you give your car to the mechanic to repair the car, not even to repair the car and put in a new starter, to repair the car for $450. The auto mechanic is a kablan in that case. He is being paid to perform a job and to deliver a completed job. You outsourced it to the auto mechanic. In that case, we're not miyakes the work that the auto mechanic is doing in his shop. When he's standing there in his shop and he's using the impact drivers and he's taking out the old part and putting in the new part and connecting the wires, we don't say he's doing Ruvain. Ruvain's the owner of the car. We don't say he's doing Ruvain's work. No, he's doing his work. He's an auto mechanic. Ruvain's not an auto mechanic. He's doing his work. Why is he doing the work? He's doing the work because he's getting paid to deliver a repaired car. So that's the key difference. Ki katarach b'didei katarach. And that's why there's no Amir La'akum. Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'hinei. Mitoich mashen ispar b'zeh sif. From everything that we've been explaining so far in this sif, muchach, it comes out, the aser liskar eina Yehudi b'kablanus, you would not be allowed to hire an eina Yehudi kablan, Lefanois zivloi mechotzer, to remove the dirt and the filth from your chotzer. What does this mean? Somebody has a chotzer, somebody has an earthen yard, okay? And the yard has a lot of trash and a lot of dirt build up. Now, when I say dirt, I mean dirt. What I mean is this trash and this dirt, dirt. Now, you want to use the yard. Maybe you want your kids to be able to play ball in the yard. They can't play ball in this yard. So you want to hire an Eino Yehudi Kablan to come with wheelbarrows and shovels and everything else, and you want him to clean out the yard. Now, when he cleans out the yard, what is he going to do? He's going to take away all the trash. He's going to dig out all of the dirt and stuff that's there, that's making the whole yard not level and a jumble mumble and everything else. And he's going to smooth out the yard. Now, that entails an Issa Daraisa on Shabbos of Boine. Why? Because this is the Isser of Mashve Gumois. When you fill up holes and indentations and you smooth out an earthen area and quote-unquote you repair it, you're masakin it, that is a tolada of the malacha of Boine, of building. So says the Mishnah Berurah like this. Based on what we're saying, would you be allowed to hire an Eino Yehudi Kablan and allow him to do this on Shabbos? The answer would be no. Why? Because the malacha that he's doing is b'mechuber lekarka. If it's mechuber lekarka, that's called yedua u'meforsemes lakoil, that the work is being done for Yisrael. Because since it's mechuber lekarka, everybody knows that that's Ruvain's yard that's being cleared out. So says the Mishnah Berurah, v'hinei mitoich masher disbar b'zeh asif muchach, ta'aser liskar Eino Yehudi b'kablanos lafanei zivla mechatzer. It should be 100% aser me'ikar adin to hire an Eino Yehudi, even under a kablan arrangement, to go do this malacha on Shabbos. Because it's malacha b'mechuber lekarka, and therefore it's yedua u'meforsemes lakoil, that the malacha is being done on behalf of Yisrael, and then there's maris ayin, and the heter of kablanus does not apply. Says the Mishnah Berurah, v'hu oisa by b'Shabbos, you can't allow him to do it on Shabbos. Why? D'hu misaken ha'chotzer bazeh, because he's repairing the chotzer, and v'hu b'chlal meleches mechuber. He's being misaken the chotzer, he's being mashve gumais, which is a tolada of Boine, and it's avoida b'mechuber lekarka. So it's aser, maris ayin. Continues the Mishnah Berurah on Hey Amud Aleph, v'yesh b'kaimos shenoyeg in heter l'sachroi, but there are places that are noyeg to hire a kablan to do this. Likach hazevel merechayiv, to remove the dirt from the streets. Af she'oisa by b'Shabbos, even if the Eino Yehudi kablan is going to do it on Shabbos. So what's pshat? Says the Mishnah Berurah, because of a Magen Avram, the Magen Avram writes that there's a reason why they're matir this. Why? The taimam, the reason is the bishal rabim lekach shada. The whole reason that this is aser is because of maris ayin. Says the Magen Avram, there's no maris ayin on a rabim. What's the maris ayin by us? The maris ayin by us is somebody is going to see that an Eino Yehudi is doing work for Yisrael on Shabbos. They're not going to know that the arrangement is an arrangement of kablanus. They're going to think the arrangement is an employee arrangement. So there's a chshad and there's a maris ayin problem. Says the Magen Avram, we don't have that by a rabbim. In this case, we're talking about the tzibur, the rabbim, hired a street cleaner as a kablan to go clean the streets. And he could do it whenever he wants. That's the kablanus arrangement. And he goes ahead and he does it on Shabbos. And in some places, they allow that to happen. They don't say that you have to tell the kablan that he can't do work on Shabbos. Explains the Magen Avram, because what would be the maris ayin? The maris ayin would be a chshad on the rabbim. Somebody who sees the Eino Yehudi kablan street cleaner doing his work on Shabbos might be choshed who? He might be choshed the tzibur. He's being choshed the people who make the decisions on behalf of the whole tzibur, that they are doing something which is aser, and they are hiring a sachir, a hired hand, an employee, to clean the streets on Shabbos, which would be also because of Amir La'akum. Says the Magen Avram, there is no such maris ayin on a tzibur. No one's going to be choshed the tzibur for doing the isser of Amir La'akum. Now, if you look at the Magen Avram brings a very interesting raya. He brings a raya from Yeridea Siman Kuf Mem Aleph, which is in Hilchas Avodah Zarah. Over there it says there are certain things that a Yid is not allowed to have in his home because it looks like it might be an Avodah Zarah object. The Ramah over there in Siman Kuf Mem Aleph says that this is not a problem by the tzibur. If somehow there's an entity that belongs to the tzibur and that entity has some of these objects, that's okay. Why? Because no one's going to be choshed the tzibur for Avodah Zarah. So the Magen Avram says, from there came a raya that there's no maris ayin on the tzibur, and that's why they held that it's mutter to hire a street cleaner, Eino Yehudi Kablan, and allow him to do work on Shabbos. However, first says the Mishnah Berurah, but realize one thing, even if you're going to be matir, a street cleaner to clean the streets for the tzibur, you only could do that if the arrangement is a Kablan arrangement, right? Where he's getting paid for the job, he's getting paid $250 to clean the streets, and he can clean the streets whenever he wants. That, according to this Magen Avram, would be mutter. Avo b'schir yoim, but for the tzibur to actually go hire an employee and hire Tony, the street cleaner, go clean the streets on Shabbos, that's, of course, aser, pshita aser. That's Amir La'akum 101. That would be 100% aser. However, continues Mishnah Berurah and he says, V'achrayim hisigo al taimai. The Achrayim are not happy with the Magen Avram's pshat over here. The Magen Avram's explanation of this heter. V'daitam, and their opinion is, they nafkamina bazeh inyan ben rabim liyochid. They hold that there's no difference over here between a rabbim and a yochid. If there's maris ayin on a yochid, there's going to be maris ayin on the tzibur. The Gamhu Ba'atzma Kasav Libesayf, and indeed the Mishnah Berurah says the Magen Avram himself wrote at the end, in areas where they're not accustomed to employing this heter, and they don't hire Eino Yehudi Kablonim to go clean the streets and let them do it on Shabbos, Ein Lahakal. If it's not already established that they use this kula, they should not use this kula. Ayin Sham says, take a look at the Magen Avram. Taimoi, and the Magen Avram's rationale is the Yeshchil Hashem B'davar. It's very nice. Maybe you came up with a pshat that there's no shad on the rabbim, but the Magen Avram says Lamaisid is a Chil Shem Shemayim. Very interesting what he says the Chil Hashem is. You know what the Chil Hashem is? He says the Chil Hashem is that by the Einam Yehudim, by the Goyim, they do not allow people to do malacha on their holidays. So you're going to have a situation where the Yidden are allowing an Eino Yehudi Kablan to do malacha on Shabbos when the Goyim are not allowing their workers to do work on their holidays? That would be a Chil Hashem. Boy, how the world has changed, right? Where is this Negeya now that the Eino Yehudim do not allow people to do malacha on their holidays? I did have this many years ago when I was first married. We had a non-Jewish, very religious Christian, an old lady who lived next door to us. And Shabbos afternoon, Sunday afternoon, you would see her sitting outside holding her Bible. And if she would hear one of the neighbors across the street using a lawnmower or a power tool, she would tisk, tisk. And then she would look at us and she would say, I respect you people. You keep your holidays and you don't let people do work on your holidays. Look what the world has come to. It's a Sunday and they're cutting the lawn. It's a Sunday and they're drilling and banging and building. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah. Even if you'll go with the Magen Avram's what he wrote at first, where he said that there is no maris ayin on the tzibur because nobody's going to be choshed the tzibur for doing an iser. Mikamakim, nevertheless, hiskim Magen Avram, the Magen Avram concludes she'ein lahater livnoi space akneses b'Shabbos b'kablonis. The Magen Avram himself also says you should not employ the heter of kablonis and allow non-Jewish workers to work on building a shul on Shabbos. So the tzibur needs a shul to be built, and they hired a Kablan to build the shul. So that means they hired a Kablan. The Kablan is going to be paid $100,000 to complete the job of building the Beis HaKnesses, and he could do it on his schedule. If he wants to work on Sunday, he could work on Sunday. He wants to work on Tuesday, he could work on Tuesday. If he decides that for his own purposes he's going to work on Shabbos, he could work on Shabbos. We're not instructing him to work on Shabbos. And again, since he's a Kablan, and we're not makbid that he should work on Shabbos, if he decides to work on Shabbos, it's his business. The malacha that he's doing on Shabbos, yes, it's going to net us a shul building, but he's not doing our malacha, he's doing his malacha. He needs to build a shul and deliver us a shul. So it's his malacha. Yet, and over here, it's being done on behalf of the rabbim. It's not being done on behalf of a yochid. So according to the heter that the Magen Avraham originally wrote, this should be mutter, because the only reason to aser it is marasayin. People are going to think he's an employee. But over here, it's the tzibur, so there's no marasayin. But yet, the Magen Avraham says, you should not employ this heter to build a Beis HaKnesses for the tzibur. Why? Ki bizmanenu she'enu umoy shcheneinu manichim l'shudm adam lasos l'malacha b'farhesi b'yom chagam. This is what we just said. The Magen Avraham says, nowadays when the goyim don't let workers do work on their holidays, it would be a chil Shem Shamayim for us to allow workers to build a shul on Shabbos. What are the goyim going to say? Nevertheless, many Achrayim write, if you're in a situation where if you do not allow the Eino Yehudi Kablan to do the work on Shabbos, again, you're not instructing him to do the work on Shabbos, you're allowing him to do the work on Shabbos. If you're in a situation where if you do not do that, there's a risk that the Beis HaKnesses might never get built, then it would be okay to allow the Eino Yehudi to work on Shabbos as long as the arrangement is a kablanus arrangement, with the following caveat. You have to put up signs, and you have to make sure everybody knows. You see Tony the Kablan doing work on the shul site on Shabbos, you should know that the arrangement is kablanus. He's being paid for the job. He's not a per diem employee. He's not an employee of the shuls. He's getting paid for the job to deliver a built shul to the tzibur, and therefore the arrangement is inherently mutter. When he works on Shabbos, he's working on Shabbos for his own designs, for his own purposes. Nothing to do with us. So inherently it's mutter. And by being mefarsim that it's kablanus, you take away any risk of marasayin, and also combine that with what the Magen Avraham originally wrote, which is that there's no marasayin, generally speaking, by a tzibur, and therefore he says in a makam atchak, where you're afraid if you don't allow this to happen, the shul might not get built, you could rely on this heter, and you could allow the shul to be built. Since we have a little time over here left, this is the end of today's Dirshu page, I'll tell you something that struck me when I learned it, and now I see that it's actually spoken about in a Dirshu footnote. And that is, if you go back to the beginning of this Mishnah Berurah, Eis Katan Yud Gimel, what's the case that the Chavetz Chaim brought down? The Chavetz Chaim brought down the case of somebody who wants to hire an Eino Yehudi Kablan to do what? To come and clean out his yard. What is the malacha that's being done? The malacha that's being done is baina, because mashve gumais is a tailada of baina. When he smooths out the yard and fills in the depressions on the ground, that is an issa daraisa. It's a tailada of baina. That's the malacha that's being done. Okay, what do we see from there? We see from there, l'chera, that if somebody has a situation where he has a pile of dirt in his backyard, and he wants to remove the pile of dirt, right? He wants to take that pile of dirt away. By taking the pile of dirt away and leveling the surface of the yard, you're being over the malacha of baina. You're performing baina, and you're being Mechal Shabbos, right? That's the Malacha of Baina, right? That's what we seem to be saying over here. Yet, later on, let's see which Siman it's in. I'll take a look right at the footnote. If you want to see this inside, this is footnote number 8. Later on in Siman Shin Ches, the Mechaber speaks about an interesting case. You have to realize that back in the day, in the time of the Mishnah, the time of the Gemara, could be even in the time of the Shulchan Aruch, people used dirt for a lot of things. People used dirt. People lived in a house. The house had earthen floors. You used dirt to dry up a spill, right? If somebody spilled something on the floor, to cover up dirt, you would take some dirt, you would throw it out on the ground. There were many different uses for dirt. The Shulchan Aruch in Shin Ches says, dirt is typically muktzah. You want to go out to your backyard and play with the dirt. Dirt is muktzah. It's muktzah machmas gufay. It's inherently muktzah. It's like eitzim va'avonim, sticks and stones. Those are items that are not muchan l'Shabbos. They're not prepared for Shabbos use. Typically, they don't have a use on Shabbos. Therefore, the default is that sticks and stones and dirt are muktzah. If you want to, let's say, take a stone and use a stone as a doorstop, you're not allowed to on Shabbos because it's muktzah machmas gufay. You're not allowed to be metaltal it. If you know before Shabbos that you want to use a stone as a doorstop, so then before Shabbos you could be mechin it. You could take the stone before Shabbos, put it down by the door before Shabbos. Now you prepared it for Shabbos use. Now it's not muktzah on Shabbos. In Shin Ches, the Mechaber speaks about the following case. What if somebody takes a shovel full of dirt and he puts a shovel full of dirt on his earthen floor in the house on Erev Shabbos, and he's mechin that dirt for Shabbos use? I have this dirt that if I need it on Shabbos for a purpose that's mutter, I should have this dirt to be able to use. Says the Mechaber over there that in Cain, the dirt is no longer muktzah. Now you're allowed to use that dirt on Shabbos. But the Mechaber over there does say that when you do take the dirt to use it on Shabbos, you have to be very careful. What do you have to be careful of? You have an earthen floor, and you made a mound of dirt, and you want to be able to use that dirt on Shabbos. Says the Mechaber, what are you going to do on Shabbos? When you go to take that mound of dirt and use it on Shabbos, says the Mechaber, you have to be very careful that you don't make a hole in the earthen ground when you do so. Because if you actually make a depression in the earthen floor of your house, when you remove that pile of dirt that you are making in Erev Shabbos, you just dug a hole. Digging a hole on the earthen floor of your house, that's an Isser Malacha. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to make a guma. You're not allowed to make a depression in the earthen floor of your home. But one thing comes out interesting from the Mechaber over there in Shin Ches. What the Mechaber is only afraid of is that when you take the dirt away, you might make a hole in the floor of your house. But if you don't make a hole in the dirt of your house, if you take away the mound of dirt and you level the floor of your house, that the Mechaber is not concerned with. Now, isn't that a stira? Over here, what we're saying is that when you go ahead and you level the ground, you're having an Eino Yehudi Kablan come and take away all the dirt from your yard and make a level surface. We're saying that that is boina, it's mashvegumais. But over there in Shin Ches, we're saying you prepared a mound before Shabbos, and now you remove the mound and make a level surface. We're saying that that's not a malacha. What's the difference between the two cases? The answer, if you look in the footnote over here, is that there's a very, very big difference between the two cases. In the case where you prepared a mound of dirt on Erev Shabbos, you would never mevatel that mound of dirt to the floor of your house. It never became the floor of your house. There's the floor of your house. There's a mound of dirt sitting on top of it, prepared for you to remove it and use it. So when you remove that mound of dirt, are you being mesakin the floor of your house? Are you repairing the floor of your house? No. There's nothing wrong with the floor of your house. You have a mound of dirt sitting on top of the floor of your house. You're not being masak in anything when you take it away. By the case of the Ein Yehudi Kablan clearing out the yard, over there you are repairing the yard. The yard is in a state of disarray. The yard is a mess. The yard is unusable. You're calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK and you're having them come with a shovel and with a rake and with a broom to clean out all the dirt and smooth it out. So here you are being misak in the chotzer, and you would be asking the Ein Yehudi Kablan to perform malacha that would be aser on Shabbos. Okay, that concludes today's share. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The source of limud HaTorah should be megan against Klal Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shem should said Yeshua's for first pronounced shtuchim to all those in need. We should be zeicher to see the B'yas Kol Tzedek b'meher of Yameinu. Amen. Be well.